Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Mike from Too Much Sugar. Welcome to another edition of Should You Play? On this episode, we will be talking about Rainbow Six Siege. Without any further ado, let's get to it. Alright, so let's get started with the gameplay. Rainbow Six Siege is a 5 vs 5 team deathmatch game where 5 attackers attempt to succeed one of 3 different mission types, and the defenders must, as their name suggests, defend whatever objective they might have. The 3 varieties of game modes are Capture the Zone, Rescue the Hostage, and Defuse one of 2 bombs. My favorite game mode just happens to be the Bombs game mode, where a diffuser needs to be placed and protected by the attacking team. Even if all attackers are killed, but the bomb diffuser isn't found or not broken in time, then the attackers win. Kind of like old school Counter-Strike. Also worthy of mentioning is that headshots are an automatic death and there are no respawns. In fact, I would go so far as to say that this game, compared to many other shooters out there, is far closer to reality. There are a grand total of 18 maps, some of which are taken in and out of the rotation at any given season, to either be reworked, rebalanced, or simply to remove it and add another map for variation's sake. As mentioned before, teams are composed of 5 players, each picking a unique operator at the start of a game. Each operator has slightly different abilities, ranging from realistic, such as the thermal scope, to completely sci-fi, such as nanomachines that give temporary health, reduce aim down the sights, etc., etc., etc. However, this isn't really an issue, as it makes for an interesting gameplay or team composition, and it's fairly easy to suspend your disbelief. Casual games are won when a first team reaches 3 victorious rounds, so it's a best of 5. Every team gets a chance to be attacker and defender, and roles are reversed at the end of every round. So you'll either start attacker or defender, and then get flipped to the opposite team, and then back and forth continuously. On to the visuals and graphics. The graphics are pretty good, and every character does feel unique to look at, and you can start recognizing the most played operators after only a few hours of gameplay, even when they have unique character skins. Speaking of skins, Siege sorely lacks unique skins for the post-Year 1 operators, or at least the really cool ones have to be purchased for an exorbitant amount of in-game currency. We're talking about 20 hours plus of gameplay per. Or you can pay by obvious premium currency, which can still cost a decent amount of money. I'm willing to pay $10 for a bundle that contains a bunch of skins every once in a while, but I'm not so hot on paying $10 for one piece of headgear that will more than likely be ugly as hell. Or worse, be a darker shade of green than the base skin. I mean, come on, Ubisoft, let your artists have a little bit of fun with the skins. It wouldn't hurt. On to the features now. Besides 5v5 team deathmatch, the game also has a short series of missions called Situations that give the player a feel for the game. They've also released time-limited 3-player co-op missions a la Left 4 Dead, which had bullet sponge bosses that took way too long to kill. I think the game severely lacks game modes outside of the 5v5 deathmatch, and having more situations, even co-op situations, would greatly add to the longevity of the game, especially if they reward players with those rare loot packs. And speaking of loot packs, the loot system in Rainbow Six is actually pretty horrible. At the end of every round, the player gains either a 1.5% or a 2% increase to their odds at winning a pack. Every time you win a pack, the counter resets to 2%. Not only is this infuriatingly long, and I've had some friends nearing the 60% mark before getting anything, so you can only imagine how many games they had to play, but the loot is also randomized. So that means that you can get a new weapon skin, a helmet, or a body skin for a character that you literally never play, or that you might not even have unlocked. I strongly believe that Ubisoft needs to be a bit more generous with their loot packs, or at least reduce their in-game currency cost. So Rainbow Six Siege is a great tactical game with tight gameplay, great sound design, and is crazy fun when playing with 4 other friends. It's just an overall great game. You can pick it up, play for, a short best of 5, then get off and you don't have to play anymore. Or you could play for hours and hours and hours. I would also avoid it if you're not a team player. Siege is a game that requires a lot of teamwork, and if you're not willing to play as a part of the team, well, that might be a problem. So now to answer the final question, should you play it? Well, you should play Rainbow Six Siege if you do have friends playing it as well. If you do, sure, go ahead and play it. If you don't, well, it'll be a toss-up most of the time when you're playing, so that decision is entirely up to you. As an additional comment, I would like to say you should try and buy it while it's discounted. I personally don't believe it's a game that is worth the full price ticket. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode of Should You Play? Don't miss our next episode, coming soon.